National Democratic Group has identified 15 Arizona candidates they think can tip the balance of power at the state legislature. Christy O'Brien is one of those candidates. She's a lawyer turned mediator running in District 13 against Republican Julie Willoughby, who is trying to move from the state House to the state Senate. Democrats haven't controlled the Senate since the early 1990s. Likewise, the party hasn't held a majority in the state House since 1964. Over the past decade, Democrats have had their opportunities to flip the legislature, but they've always come up short. So I asked O'Brien to convince political skeptics that this is the year her party will make it happen.
Legislative District 13, I think, is a testament to the Independent Redistricting Commission. It's not red, it's not blue, it's purple. It's our most competitive district, and a Democrat can win when they turn out the base and they get the majority of the independent voters. The independents are the largest voting bloc in the district.
Democrats did get some encouraging news this week. A new poll released by AARP gave the party a 3-point edge over Republicans for legislative races heading into the November election. And that was just part of my interview. You can watch it in its entirety this Sunday on Politics Unplugged. In the newsroom, Dennis Welch, Arizona's Family.